Okay, good morning, second English students. Now we will continue this lesson, this prose lesson, the Renaissance in India. And so next, actually this essay is divided into 4 parts. And first part is over in the yesterday's video, and now we will learn the second part. And let me remind you that I posted the original text of this lesson in Google Classroom, and I think there is there is one summary, only one, not other things, and other things don't cover the original text. And one particular summary is very sincere to this lesson, and that also I will upload in Google Classroom. Okay. Okay, and now we will continue this lesson, the second part of this lesson, the Renaissance in India. And actually the second part is more or less the points in the effects of colonization by Michael Danningham. Okay, so how India lost its originality. Okay, so that's what Aurobindo explains in his own terms and in his own words. Okay, so in this video we will complete the second part of this lesson, and I will begin the third part of the lesson in this video itself, because third part is so long, and the next video itself, third part cannot be completed. So the second part is a short one. Let me begin the third part of the essay also in this video. Okay, and so the second part, so first paragraph it says that actually there are 3 stages of, actually there are 4 stages of Renaissance in India. 3 stages are already have happened, and 4th stage is yet to happen. Okay, so there are 4 stages. The first stage is India contacted with Europe. Okay, India contacted with Europe, or Europe contacted with India, whatever it could be. India and Europe have contacted. So this is the first stage. And second stage is Europeans deny India, and Indians also deny India. Okay, after the contact, Europeans deny India, and Indians also deny India. So this is the worst stage. This is the worst stage. And the third stage is Indians began to accept India, and Indians have started to be aware of India. Okay, the third stage is Indians have started to accept India, and Indians have started to be aware of India and Indianness. Okay, and fourth step is Indians should accept India and its spiritual glory, and India should tell to the world that what India have contributed to the world. Okay, so this is the first stage, and the fourth stage is said to be the real Renaissance. And how can we happen the Renaissance in India by Indians themselves? How can we do it? Okay, and that's what he explains. And before that, and how this happened, that's what this is the second part of the essay. Okay, so how can we implement this? There should be change in the minds of Indians. Okay, there should be change in the minds of Indians, and the change should be the inward change. Okay, that is the inward change. Both intellectual change, both intellectual change and external change, the dress and costume, the behavior, but the mind should be the Indian. So Indians think from Western point of view. Okay, so that should not be the case. Indian should think from Indian point of view. The mind should change. Okay, India cannot follow the Western imprint. Okay, so India cannot follow the Western imprint, and India should maintain the Indian temperament. Okay, so India should maintain the Indian temperament. India should never mix with Western ideology and Western temperament. India has its own original temperament, original ideas. Therefore, as Indians, India have original ideas, original philosophy, then there is no point in mixing India with Western. Okay, so therefore India cannot mix with Europeans. Okay, and see when we Indian now India, so this is a step. This is a bit. There is a bud developed in the minds of Indians, but as the bud is developed, Indians themselves have various opinions. Okay, the Indians are confused to do research, Indians are confused to go back to Indian ancient intellectuality. Okay, we have various opinion about this. Can you follow Buddhism? What is Hindu? What is Hindu mythology? What is the purpose of it? And what are the scientific discoveries? What all the inventions that India made? What are the contributions that India have made to the world? What all applicable to Indians alone? What are all the things applicable to the whole world? And Indians are confused about it, and Indians have various opinion. Indians themselves have various opinion about it. And Aurobindo says that these opinions are good for India herself. Okay, how these various opinions are good for India? See, then Indians will think more about India. Yes, all the opinions are convey the same thing. Okay, such kind of conclusion are possible when we have various opinions. We think, then this is your opinion, this is my opinion. Everything is good. If everything is good for Indians, everything is good for humanity. Likewise, Indians will think, and so we have various opinions, but at the same time we should not fight each other. Rather, we should appreciate each and everyone's opinions. Okay, so that should be the case. Okay, and how Indians happen to deny India herself is the most important reason, which Michael Danino also said in his essay. So Arvind also said the same. Actually Michael Danino said the same point. I said by Arvindo, it is because of Western education. So as they implemented Lord Macaulay implemented Western education, Indians started to deny India herself. So this is the most important reason. All of you should mention this point. So how Indians happen to deny themselves is because of the Western education. And in Western education they do English medium of instruction, and there they do not talk about India, rather they talk ill of India. And as Indians had Western education, Indians began to think ill of India. Indians deny Indian knowledge, Indian culture, Indian religion. So this is the problem. Okay, so this is the most important problem. Okay, so actually when India had Western education, even the patriotic Indians themselves began to accept this Western education. Okay, and when they had the Western education, the patriotic Indians themselves also thought that yes, Indians are half civilized. Okay, and even the patriotic Indians themselves began to think in this way. Okay, so this is a problem now. So see, Indian philosophy, Indian type of education is a bit of a complex, but Western system of education seems to be very simple. And you must, this important point, you must write this point. See, as Indian philosophy, Indian concept of spirituality is a little bit complex to understand. At that point, Western system of education is implemented, and it seems to be simple for Indians and even for the patriotic Indians themselves. Therefore, Indians themselves begin to believe that we are half civilized. Okay, so this is a problem, and this problem is India. In no way India and Indians are not responsible for this. Europeans should take the responsibility, and they purposefully implemented the Western education, and it seems to solve all the problems. But actually, Western education, Western religion is complicating human life. Okay, and Indian lifestyle is simple, and it seems the knowledge is complicated, but actually everything is simple. We are leading a simple way of life, and that's what real spirituality is. Okay, so for this reason only Indians denied Indian because of the Western education, and Europeans purposefully made that Indians themselves should deny India and they should glorify only Europeans. They did it purposefully. India lost its own glory. Okay, and yet whatever the situation may be, India maintained the main temperament of spirituality, the main idea of spirituality, despite this horrible situation. Okay, and so India maintained it, and Indians liked the simplified religion, the simplified Western education, and these ideas, the Western education, the Western religion, were revolutionary one, and India were not aware of it. And the most important problem is that Western education, real education is comprehensive. Okay, real education is comprehensive. We must accept real education should accept all people's knowledge. Okay, if they implemented the real knowledge in India, if the Europeans implemented the real knowledge in India, they should have accepted Indian knowledge, Indian science, Indian discoveries. Okay, Indian point of view. That is real education. And okay, India got independence, and we should implement the real education. This doesn't mean that we should ignore the Western ideas. Okay, Europeans also contributed great things. We must accept those things. At the same time, Indians also contributed great things. We must accept those things. This is real education. Okay, in the name of real education, we should study only Western ideas, Western theology. In the name of real education, we study only Indian ideas and Indian theology. Both are wrong. Real education, both Western ideas and European ideas, we must study everything. That is real education. Okay, and Western education is not real education because they ignored India. But as Western education is simple and new to, it's not simple, it is new. It is both simple as well as new. So, I mean, the point which Arvind emphasizes is that why Indians are attracted towards Western is that Western education is new. Okay, these things we do not know. Actually, Indians, the problem is during the Rajput and the beginning of 5th and 6th century, everything seems to be repetitive. Okay, and such thing happen in Europe also, in India also, and as everything is repetitive, the point is that as everything is repetitive, Indians themselves would have discovered and produced new knowledge, but at that point British rule was implemented and Indians were craving for new knowledge. At the time British came to India, and the Indians immediately accepted the new knowledge, the new ideas, and new philosophy. Okay, so and then they simply thought that this is the real philosophy. The new knowledge should be based on our ancient knowledge. Okay, by accepting the ancient knowledge, the new knowledge should be constructed. But unfortunately, exactly the time is the 16th century, 17th century is the time. At that time only India would have developed new knowledge by themselves. But at that time British rule were implemented and India lost its glory completely. Okay, and this is the most disastrous thing, and he mentioned here. Okay, I mean, wait. So that's how Indians ignored themselves, and now at this point, Indians started to be aware of themselves. Okay, now this is the point, and now new renaissance should happen in India. Okay. So this point I would have started, the stage I have started, and Indians should develop the national interest, and Indians should have modern India by applying old the ancient intellectuality. By applying ancient intellectuality, India should develop its own modern era. Okay, by applying old for ancient intellectuality, India should develop modern India. Okay, so India and when we apply ancient intellectuality, the evil part of it, the unnecessary part of intellectuality, the belief should be shed, should be thrown away by Indians themselves. What all the things are good for Indians in the modern context, what all the things are good for India? We need to analyze those things. We should not simply accept everything, all the ancient ideas. The caste system is worst thing and it cannot be implemented. That example is given by Aurobindo himself. And the superstitious belief, that also should be shared by Indians. Okay, what all the superstitious belief and by which we have to give up, and what all the belief which we can follow, which is good for India, Indians as well as to the world, that we have to do. Okay. Say for example, the applying ash on the forehead. Okay, actually that is good for our health. That is scientifically proven. Okay, then we have to follow that tradition. Okay, so applying ashes on our forehead is good for our health. If this is the case, then we have to follow it. We as Indians should follow it. Okay, we cannot say that. This is what Europeans did, and we cannot take revenge on this. Say for example, we cannot say that applying ashes is good for our health. Therefore, we as Indians we cannot compel the Europeans that is good for your health. Therefore, we have to follow it. Likewise, we cannot compel it. The Europeans compelled them. Okay, that is wrong. Likewise, we cannot compel the Europeans that you have to apply ashes on your forehead. Likewise, we cannot compel them. That is what Europeans did, which is completely wrong, and so we cannot say so. We as Indians will follow our tradition, that is applying ashes on our forehead. That is good for our health. We have to analyze, we have to do research on these things, and then we have to implement in our life. Okay, so Likewise, there are many superstitious beliefs in Western ideas also, and we have to deny those superstitious beliefs of the Europeans, and if the Western ideas are good for us, then we can follow it. At the same time, it is our responsibility what all the good things said by the ancient Indians that we must follow. And if we want to follow the good things of the Western culture, we can follow. Okay, so I think it's very simple, but the words seems to be complicated, but the ideas are simple. So what all the good things said by Indians that we must follow, what are the good things said by the Europeans that we may follow. Okay, this is said to be Renaissance. But the superstitious belief of Indians as well as the Europeans, that should be completely denied. Okay. So the field, the poise, P-O-I-S-E, the real field, the real spirit of India should be followed by Indians. Indians alone should follow it. The real spirit of English, British people will be followed by them. Okay, the real spirit, the Indian feel, the spirit. Okay, India, அப்படின்ற அந்த உணர்வு, we have to follow this. Okay, the Indian spirit, Indians alone should follow. The British spirit, British will follow. We should have the feel, we should have the spirit as Indian. Okay, so this is said to be a real Renaissance. And let's say India has Western, now most the unfortunate part is that Indians have the Western outlook that should be denied. The real Indian spirit Indians should have. Okay, and slowly Rabindranath Tagore, Vivekananda have started the Indian movement. Okay, so Rabindranath Tagore, Chandra Chatterjee, okay, C-H-A-N-D-R-A, that is one word, one name, Chatterjee, single person. Rabindranath Tagore is one person, and Chandra Chatterjee, C-H-A-T-T-E-R-J-I, Chandra Chatterjee, and Vivekananda, Vivekananda. So these people, these three people are said to be the real founders of Indian Renaissance. They began to do research on Indian and history, Indian theology, Indian culture, Indian religion, and they have started to lead such life, and with them real Indian Renaissance began. Okay, so now we cannot be satisfied with these three scholars, with these three products of Renaissance. More Renaissance should happen in India. Okay, with this second part of the essay is over, and let me continue the third part of the essay. See, now Indians have the Western outlook, and India is confused. Many some of the Indians have begun the Indian Renaissance, and all are doubtful in their effort. All are confused. Indians are confused. What is right and what is wrong. Likewise, Indians are confused. Okay. And see, the British rule is the most disastrous period in the whole of Indian history. Okay, so the British rule is the most disastrous aspect of Indian history, and therefore India must have freedom. With freedom only we can develop the Renaissance in India. Okay, and it should happen. And now in the fourth stage, Indians are confused. Indians are hesitant. What is good and what is right? Can I follow my religion? Can I follow Christianity? I have faith in Christianity. What you are saying that we have to revive Indian religion? Likewise, lots of confusion are there with the Indians. Can we, if see, Hinduism in India, Buddhism developed in India, Jainism developed, that is also religion. Likewise, if you have strong faith in Christianity, I mean, he did not mention the word Christianity or Muslim or Islam. Religion is different thing. Okay, that's what he's saying in third part. Religion is different from spirituality. Okay, religion is one way of attaining spirituality. Okay, this is the point he mentions. Religion is one way of attaining spirituality. So India focuses more on spirituality. Okay, so we should know the real purpose of religion. So attaining the spirituality is the ultimate purpose of each and every individual, each and every human. Okay, so religion is one way of attaining the spirituality. So therefore you can follow any ways. But remember that if you have strong faith in Christianity, you can follow, but you should focus more on the spirituality in Christianity. Okay, then it is okay. Okay, so okay, I am Christian, you are Hindu. Christians are great thing. Christianity is super. Okay, I am Hindu. Hinduism is a great thing. Christians are Bible is false. These statements are foolish and completely wrong statement. Okay, Indians should have clarity about religion. Religion is one way of attaining spirituality. Therefore, if you have faith in Christianity, you follow. If you have faith in Islam, you follow. So religion doesn't matter. Whether the religion originated in India or not, it doesn't matter. If you want to follow Christianity, okay, no problem. If you want to follow Islam, okay, no problem. If you want to follow other religion, no problem in it. Okay, so but we as Indians should focus more on spirituality, and religion is one way of attaining the spirituality. Okay, okay. So the plan is to do more things, to cover more points in third part. So okay, it doesn't matter. In the next video, let me complete the third part. However, the video is long. Okay, let me stop here. Thank you.